Welcome to Yogaxpress. My name is Banu Suresh. I'm your host for this program. In episode number 700, we have a special treat for you. A special teacher that I've been stalking, and I say within quotes, stalking for the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm going to save Matt Dreyfus. I'm going to save his introduction to last. Before I move on, I'd like to remember my manners, remember to thank my crew. Ryan Stillwagon is our facilitator for today. Ryan, thank you so much for all this magic lighting that you've created here. Vita Fraga, our director. Vita, thank you again for guiding our team. We have on switch Charles Epstein, and we have Lou Berisha on cameras. So thank you so much for staying with us and for putting up with me. Saving the best for the last, Matt Dreyfus. Matt, you recently came back after a month in India. Now, before I ask you a little bit about yourself, I want your perspective on the contrast that you notice in India and here. Actually, interestingly, someone asked me, what is Iyengar Yoga? Why don't you tell us that?
Well, Iyengar Yoga is named for BKS Iyengar, and he developed a method of teaching yoga wherein he used the postures and the breathing practices to really open up and unfold all the different aspects of yoga. And
so how is he different from other teachers?
Well, I don't know if I could say how he's different, but I'll say some things that distinguish him.
Right.
Was that he really penetrated into the depth of the asanas in a way which I think is unique. And he understood them in such a deep way. And he was able to express them and share them with people in a way that anybody could experience the essence of a posture.
Right.
So one of the things he did was develop the use of props. And so, for example, if he could do a challenging posture that most people could not execute, but he felt the benefits of that posture, he developed ways of using the props to help a person be in the posture in such a way that they could feel the inner state of the pose.
Oh, I love that expression.
And get the integration that the pose offers, because every posture is a process of integration. And that integration and connection and clarity was something he really taught in an extremely beautiful way.
Right.
And just since I'm speaking of the props, I'm obligated to say, your body is your first prop. And the most important thing in Iyengar Yoga is really learning how to use your body, how to use your intelligence, your mind, and your breath together.
Right.
And then within that understanding of how you're using your body, then you can also start to use some of the supports that we use.
Perfect. Actually, that's a very good transition into our theme for the day. I know, Matt, for a fact, that you don't like us using props because you feel we won't make the most of our own bodies. But at the same time, you are so good at teaching us how to use it. This is a great moment for our viewers because they can learn that even if they're not quite there yet, we all have hope. So we're all trying to get where you and other Iyengar students are today. We want to get the mainstream into the yoga stream. But before I move on, you also cycle a lot, and I'm curious because you did mention that you came all the way to the studios on your bicycle. How far did you have to travel?
Well, today I traveled around the city a bit, so probably about 10 miles altogether.
That's like an everyday thing for you?
Several days a week, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you teach at Iyengar School. Do you teach at both the branches in New York?
I teach at the
Chelsea.
Iyengar Yoga Institute of New York in Chelsea,
Right.
and I don't teach in the Brooklyn Institute because I live in New Jersey, and so it's a bit of a
Too
stretch
far.
to go there.
Yeah.
I taught there when we first opened that space. I taught there for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's really good to have you here, Matt. I am ready.
Okay, great. So shall we begin?
Yes.
All right,
I'm
let's
ready.
start standing.
Okay.
And you can face me. Just have your feet together. Stand right in the center of your mat.
Oh, okay.
So you and I will face each other.
Okay.
Join your big toes. Yeah. And now stand up straight and tall. Feel your feet on the floor. Bring your weight slightly towards your heels. And as your heels go down into the ground, lift up and open your chest. And roll your shoulders back and stretch your arms down as you lift your chest higher. So you start in a balanced state, feeling the connection of your body to the ground. From there, you lift up. Now keep your arms extending and take them up. So you go to upward hands posture. And all the way from your outer hips, lift your fingertips higher. Yeah, so find out over a few breaths how high you can become, how tall you can become in the sides of your ribs. And from the sides of your ribs, lengthen up through the backs of your hands. So when we get connected to the side body and open there, it creates space within. Now keep your chest rising up. Turn your arms out and take them down. See if you can maintain the height that you created when your arms are up. And now once again, upward hands. Now press your thighs back so you feel your heels on the floor. And maintaining that pressure of your heels into the floor, stretch from your hips through your side ribs, lift your arms higher, extend upward. Now keep that height in your sides, turn your arms out and take them down. Now interlace your hands and stretch them forward. Spread your thumbs and open up your palms. So you bring a sense of space and spreading in the palms. And now with the palms spreading, press your heels down and lift your arms up. And with the heels down, stretching the arms up, you get a feeling for your whole body. So you connect from one end, all the way at the base, all the way up to the other end. And that way we start to spread our mind through our body. Now inhale and pull your hands up higher, and then keep your chest lifting. Exhale and take your arms out and down. Now interlace your hands again. This time have the other hand on top. So you know what I mean? It's,
yes.
This is one hand on top, and this is the other hand on top. So I'm showing for your viewers there. Now, take your arms forward, relax your shoulders, but stretch your arms. And then with an inhalation, press your heels down as you take your arms up. And now with your heels pressing down, as you inhale, pull from your hips, through your side ribs, through your wrists, get taller there. And then keep that height in your trunk. Exhale, take your arms out and down. Now, take your arms once again straight up. And keep lengthening from your hips through your fingers as you bend your legs, so you come into the fierce pose or Utkatasana. Keep your weight toward your heels, that's just fine. If you need to, separate your feet a few inches, no problem. Descend your buttocks and ascend from your hips through your side ribs, through your fingers. So you bring that same extension into this posture. And now press your feet down to come up. Turn your arms out and take them down. And now once more, take your arms up. Go on, stretch from your hips all the way up through your fingertips, and go on lengthening up from your hips through your fingers as you bend your legs. So part of you is going down, part of you is going up. Now press your feet down and come up. And then turn your arms out and take them down. Okay, now we're going to move into a few postures where the legs are wide apart. So just watch, I'll show you how to do that. You can relax for a moment. From here, I jump and spread my arms and legs.
I step out.
Now, if jumping is not appropriate for you, if you have any trouble with your joints, so, you know, your feet, your knees, your hips, your spine, etc., then you can step. So watch, the spirit is the same. Put my hands up, I step, step, arms and legs wide. Okay? Like that. Okay, now, just take your hands down for a moment and look at your feet. And if you look at your feet, you see they turn out a little bit. That happens to pretty much everybody. So turn your feet so the outer feet are parallel. And now inhale, lift your arms up and out to the sides. And now exhale, and turn your left leg all the way out to face that side. And then turn your right foot in just a little bit. And now we're going to do the triangle pose. So press your feet down, and from your feet pressing down, lift up through your legs, through your chest, and out through your fingertips. Now as you exhale, reach out, take your hand on your shin, and your right arm up to the ceiling. Good, and now press your right heel down and stand up. Turn your both feet forward. Now turn your right leg all the way out, turn your left toes in a little bit. Press your feet down, lift up through your thighs, all the way through your chest and out your arms. Then exhale and reach out and come down and keep your left arm reaching up to the ceiling. Now press your left heel down, inhale and stand up. Turn your feet forward. And then bring your hands in front of your chest and either walk or jump your legs back together.
I've set up anti-gravity, anti-gravity.
Your sort of anti-gravity?
I don't like to jump.
Well that's okay. If it's just because you don't like it, then you should do it. But if you have a reason not to do it, like, you know, if you have an aversion to something, I don't like to jump, I don't like to go this way, then that's a good thing for you to do.
Yeah.
You should face it.
Okay.
It's much more interesting. But I want to show you something about the triangle pose. So you watch. So when we're here, if you look at right now where my top arm is, it's not really stretching straight up over me. It's kind of out in front.
Right.
And that's connected to my chest turning down toward the floor slightly, which is not where I want it. I want my chest facing forward.
Right.
So I said before the body is the first prop, right? So watch. We're going to take the hand down here, and then we're going to use this arm here to help turn our chest to face forward like this.
Wow.
You see how they go together?
I can actually
Then that
visually
really
see.
starts to open up, and then once that opening has come, then the arm comes up, and the arm feels like a helper in the pose.
Right.
Whereas if it's not in a good spot, sometimes it feels like a burden in the pose. Okay, so now take your legs apart, left leg all the way out, and your right foot in just a little. And right here, stand straight and tall. As you lift your chest, widen your arms and feel the opening in your chest. Now exhale, reach out and take your hand on your shin. And now see, do you have the same opening or did you lose a little bit? So you're pretty good and you get the same opening coming again. But you can improve even a little more. So take your right hand down on your waist. Now press your feet into the floor and with an inhalation, pull your chest away from your hips. And as you exhale, revolve your right shoulder further back. Turn your chest more and more toward the ceiling so you start to open further. And now keep your shoulder back and your chest open and take your arm up. And now stretch both arms away from each other, the left hand into the leg and the right arm up to the ceiling. And now press your right heel down and stand up.
I cannot believe I'm sweating already.
And feet forward and rest your hands. That's not a bad sign. So the effort is involved in yoga, you know.
Right.
This is a really important aspect of yoga. Effort is involved, and as we mature in practice, that effort has to become effortless. But we have to start with the effort. So now spread your arms wide. Turn your right leg out, left foot in just a little. Take a deep inhalation, lift your chest and widen your arms. Exhale, reach out. Take your hand on your shin. And now take your left hand down. And as you press your feet down, pull your chest away from your hips. And as you exhale, revolve your left shoulder back more and more to help you turn your chest. Take the right side ribs, the ones on the bottom, and exhale and turn them toward me. And your left side ribs on the top, exhale and roll them back behind you like that. And now take your arm up, press your feet into the floor, and as you lift your chest away from your legs, widen your arms. And now press your left heel down and stand up. Turn your feet forward. And then if you want to try jumping, walk your feet a little closer together so it's not such a big deal. Take your hands in front, bend your legs, just lightly jump. Okay, not bad. Now,
No earthquakes. Good.
yeah, no earthquakes. Now, I know you wanted to work with the props a bit, so take your 2 blocks, put them up on the front of your mat like that. And then watch here, I'll show you what you'll do. One leg goes forward between the blocks, the other leg goes back. Both sides of the trunk face toward the blocks, and then with the legs straight, hands on the blocks, and chest forward and up. Got it? So step forward, just step your right, that's right, and your left foot back. There, now stand straight and tall, shoulders back. Exhale, put your hands on the bricks, and look forward. Now, the reason to be in this position with the arms straight is to help get more length in the front of your body and the front of your spine. So as you pull your right hip back, inhale, lift your whole front of your chest forward and up, so you create more space there in the front body. And now press your left heel down and stand up. These postures where you face over one leg, it's like standing on a balance beam.
Right. Oh.
And if you find that it's really difficult to balance, you take the front foot and move it out to the side a little bit, like that. So that's a possibility if you need some extra support. Right. Okay, now stand straight and tall. Exhale, pull your left hip back and put your hands on the bricks and look forward. Now once you're there, re-stretch your legs. So pull your left thigh up to your hip. Okay, now, with an inhalation, lift the whole front of your chest forward and up, away from your legs, so that you create more space in your front body. Okay, now, press your right heel down and stand up. And now join your legs. And now watch here. So the reason for this posture, extending the front chest and making more space in the front body, is so that when we bend the body down over the leg, there's a good space inside for the forward bending. So from here, I bend my arms and I go down. Now the blocks are sort of in the way, so I can put my hands on the floor where the blocks can go lower. But now that I've come into this forward bend, I have a nice long space in my body because I did that first position. And we come back and up. Ready?
I am going to do my best. It's
You're
not the
gonna do your
blocks,
best.
it's my 12 pack that's in the way. But
I
right
don't
leg?
believe it. Right leg forward. That's right. Now stand straight and tall. Rest your hands on your waist. If you feel your 12 pack is in the way, make it longer.
Okay.
So inhale, lift your whole abdomen and your chest up. Now exhale and go forward. And with your hands on the blocks, look forward.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah.
You're right.
So you have to make space there. Where any time you feel obstruction, you have to create space.
Right.
So to make space, move your right hip back. And with a deep inhalation, lift your whole chest, your whole abdomen forward and up. And then with your next exhalation, bend your arms and lengthen your trunk down your leg. And then you feel, oh, if the blocks are sort of in the way, you can make them lower. There you are. Now, with your right thigh lifting up, move your right hip back, exhale and go further down. And now inhale, straighten your arms and lift your head and chest. And then plant your left heel on the floor and stand up. Yes, and now change sides. Put the blocks up high again. And you know, we could do this without the blocks, but having the blocks high ensures that you're going to get that good space in the front body.
Right. That helps, definitely.
So stand straight, and before you go down, get balance there, so press your feet down to be stable.
And I think that space helped a lot.
That space will help. And as you inhale, lift the whole front of your body up. And exhale, move your left hip back, and bring your hands on the blocks and look forward. And now right away, re-stretch your left leg, the front leg. Pull that left thigh back, and with an inhalation, lift the whole front of your body up and away from your legs. And as you exhale, bend your arms, and take your whole body down over your leg. And now you can make the blocks lower as appropriate for you. So however far down you can go with the legs straight is how far you should go. So anyone practicing this posture, as long as you can keep the leg extended and you can breathe freely, and you can take the hands lower. And now inhale, straighten your arms and lift your head and chest up. And now press your right heel down and stand up.
I can really feel it in the back of my legs.
Oh yes. And then take your feet together. The name of this pose in Sanskrit is Parsva Uttanasana. Parsva is the side, and Uttana means intense stretch. So it has that word intense stretch within the posture.
Right.
Okay, now put the blocks to the side and take downward facing dog. Just keep your hands on the front of the mat and walk your legs back. Okay, good. Now look at your feet and adjust your feet so your heels are a little wider than your big toes. Take the heels away from each other slightly.
Is it good?
Yep. Okay, Banu, that's very good. So if you can see Banu's posture, yeah, that's a good view. You see how her legs are going straight up to her hips, and then from her hands, she can extend straight back to her hips. So the hips, the pelvic region, are the high point of the pose, the apex of the pose, and she stretches up from her feet to her hips, and she stretches up and back from her hands to her hips. Now the one thing that I want Banu to do now, which is going to change the feeling of the pose, is let your head go down, Banu. Because when the head is up, the brain is active and thinking. When the head goes down, the brain can relax. And the challenge in this posture is to fully extend from your feet to your hips, from your hands to your hips, and at the same time let your brain relax. Now you can see in Banu's pose, there's a nice extension from the hands all the way back to the hips, and her legs are nice and straight. And those are kind of fundamental elements of the posture. So now Banu, come down, or walk forward and stand up.
Oh.
Yeah, just go ahead and walk. Sorry, I said come down. Walk forward and stand up. Now, not everyone can get that extension like Banu had. There's another way of doing a similar posture, which is to use the chair. So take your chair, Banu, and keep it on the mat near the front. And then if you watch here, I keep my hands on the chair seat, and I take my legs back, and now I'm extending just like Banu was, from my heels up to my hips and from my hands back to my hips, but the angle is less, and so the pose is more accessible. Put your fingers forward. Yeah.
Couldn't get the
So
fold.
that the feeling, it should be like the dog pose. You can take your feet a little wider and make your outer feet parallel to each other. And pull your thighs up to your hips, and as you push your hands down, stretch your fingers forward and move your hips further back. So you see how it's the similar actions of the pose, and just like before, let your head go down. Yeah.
That
So
does
have
make a difference.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So if you're running a television program, then your head's going to be up because you're thinking about it.
I
So
know,
you have
it's
to let it go
vanity.
for a moment. So let it
Vanity.
go. Take a deep breath and exhale and just pull your hips back. Let your head go down. now walk forward and stand up. Now we're taking a little less time in these postures than we ordinarily would because we have a time constraint.
So how long is an average holding time?
Well, for the standing postures, 30 seconds on each side would be good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe a minute. And for the dog pose, anywhere from 30, if you're very stable, 3 minutes, but 30 seconds is fine.
Okay.
This one, 30 seconds to a minute. What's important is that you don't strain. So when you're new, a new student should do the pose more repetitions. Don't try to stay too long.
Right.
That's a good rule of thumb.
It's a good practice.
Yeah. Okay, now have a seat in your chair. Just sit down facing toward me. Sit straight and tall with your feet planted on the floor. So you have to go forward a little. Yeah. Now exhale and turn and hold the back of your chair. And then when you're holding the back of your chair, lift your chest up, turn your chest toward the back of the chair, and let your head just stay in line with your chest, like that. Press your feet into the floor just like when you were standing, and as you lift your chest up, then exhale, turn your chest toward the back of the chair. And so for sure in this pose we would stay longer, but now we're going to do the other side. So exhale and release and spin around to the other side. So that one as well, 30 seconds to a minute. And so plant your feet on the floor. It's always important, whatever's on the floor, that's the base of the pose, it's always important to have that well established. So you give a good strong lift of your chest. So wait for your inhalation. When you inhale, pull your chest up, and then exhale and turn. Okay, good. Now release. And now stand up. Let's put the chairs to the side. And now I'll show you a posture you can do using the bolster. So take your bolster and keep it on your mat like this. And then these bolsters are a little thin and a little springy, so they're going to mush down too much. So take one of your blankets, take it like this, and then fold it in half lengthwise so it covers the bolster, like that. And then I'm going to show you a supported version of Setu Bandha, which means bridge pose. And it's really a variation of shoulder stand. It's a variation of a classical shoulder stand pose. So watch how I do. I sit down on the bolster, and then I lie back. I let my head touch the floor, and you see my shoulders are off the floor?
Yes.
I'm going to curl my chest around the bolster until they rest on the floor. So I lift my chest and curl, put my shoulders down. Now when I say my shoulders, what I mean is this upper arm bone here is down on the floor. Once the upper arms are down, you see how my chest can lift and open?
Yes.
And then I rest my arms like this, palms facing up, out to the sides. Then from here, we can keep the legs bent, or you can stretch the legs out. And this is a wonderful pose for breathing because of the way it opens the whole area of the lungs. And it's quieting for the mind because the back of the neck is long and the face is turned inward toward the heart. When you come out of this pose, you just lift your hips up and slide the bolster away. Okay? Let's try. So have a seat. Be careful, your blanket's tipping off the side. So there you go. Sometimes I tell the newer teachers, be careful, more props, more problems. Okay? So now bend your legs, Banu.
Sure.
Bend your legs. Shift your hips a little further towards your feet before you lie down. And now lie back. And then once your head touches, curl your chest around the edge of the bolster until your upper arms are resting on the floor. So you have to slide your body a little further until you feel there you are. Now, for relaxation, although I did not do this, I should have, take off your glasses.
Sorry, guys.
And that's an important thing. When you're doing resting postures in yoga, you should take your glasses off because then you'll be able to relax your facial muscles, which is important for relaxation. So now, you will stay here for just a minute or two, Banu.
Okay.
So now, keep your shoulders rolling down, and you can see how Banu's chest is lifted up, so the area of the lungs and heart is well supported. You can relax your fingers now. Yeah. And relax your breathing. And now stretch out your legs one at a time. Just rest your heels on the floor. And, you can mostly relax your legs, but don't let them flop out completely. And have a kind of gentle lengthening of your legs away from your hips and your chest away from your hips. And feel the movement of your breath and how the inhalation brings the expansion in the ribs and the lungs, and how the exhalation releases your abdomen. Okay, now bend your legs. And don't forget about your glasses. Just lift your hips a little bit and push the bolster on your belly. push the bolster
Oh,
out.
I have it on my.
Yeah. Okay, then turn on your side and sit up.
I heard our camera person say we're almost
Okay.
ready
well,
to wrap
so
up.
now, I'll just say that posture, you should stay at least 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes to 8 minutes.
Oh, I loved it. I don't
Yeah.
mind. I could stay
and then
there
you
forever.
can sit up on your bolster.
Before
why don't
we wrap up, I'd like to thank our amazing crew. Thank you so much. Ryan, Vita, Charles, and Lou. Thank you so much for staying with us. And thanks mostly to Matt Dreyfus. Matt, I adore your teaching style, and I will be stalking you for the next, whatever,
I'll be
5, 10
happy
years.
to have you in class. Thank you very much.
It's a lot of fun. Check Matt out. Go to Iyengar NYC.
NYC.org. Yes.
And he's got, you teach a lot of classes through the week, at least 4 to 5.
6 classes a week, yeah.
Since we have just a few seconds, Matt is also a musician, by the way. I wanted to ask you about this. I know it's not necessarily directly yoga related,
Sure.
but is that what builds the discipline? Because I know music needs a lot of discipline.
Well, I have found it's a very similar process.
Right.
The process of learning to play an instrument, and I played classically,
Oh,
and Iyengar yoga is a classical style of yoga.
there you
The
go.
process, it really is. So the process of learning, the process of exploration, the process of connecting and integration is very, very similar.
That's where the discipline comes in. Guys, stay with us. We will be transitioning into Vedic cooking from episode number 701, but just because we don't tape anymore right here in the studios, it doesn't mean you should not practice. You are watching Yogaxpress.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. That was beautiful.
Thanks, Banu. That was fun.
Very well paced.
Sorry.
Was that okay?
No. Ooh.